Everybody played music because they loved music, they wanted to share it with people. There was this wonderful sense of enthusiasm. Now, I should, like, if you like, temper what I'm saying with the kind of realization, looking back, as it were, that that's probably as much a function of being young, you know what I mean, and in your early 20s as anything else. It is a function, you know, of young people are wildly enthusiastic about things, as many parents know, and, you know, to their cost, and they sigh while their daughters and sons have these mad ideas. But that was a generalized kind of thing that was going on in the 60s. And I'm still, I must say, I'm still a yes person. I like yes. I think we need a lot more fucking yes in the world and a lot less no's and a bit more, you know, general, what's the word, enthusiasm and support for the arts in all their glory and in all their cock-ups and mistakes. More yes, I'm a yes person, so that came from the 60s, and I've still hopefully managed to retain that kind of base enthusiasm.
Now, these days they run courses where you can get diplomas and certificates to become tour managers,
right?
Have other positions in the music industry. But back then, I don't think they had that sort of qualification. No. You learnt on the job, didn't you?
You do, really, yeah. I mean, you learnt by doing, you know, I mean, you couldn't go and buy a DVD, you know, how to play jazz licks on the guitar or how to improvise on the guitar or how to, you know what I mean, play the blues or whatever, you know, how to play like, you know, some great rock guitar player, whatever. None of that really existed. So, yeah, you learnt by doing. And of course, you know, people made horrendous mistakes, but also people had wonderful experiences and you know, the Jimi Hendrixes of the world, the Janices, all the people that we now think of as great guitar players, they all learned by doing rather than, and of course, you know, by picking up from other people. But there was a great acceptance of experiment and being allowed to fall on your face, perhaps, you know what I mean, and fuck up, but nonetheless, you know, allowed to be creative and to go for things, which, of course, now the music industry is an industry now. It's not a kind of expression so much of youth as a kind of industrialized method of making money. I think a lot of the stuff in the 60s was much more a matter of self-expression and just sheer joy, if you like. So it's been industrialized, and a lot of the fun and spontaneity and yes, if you like, has been taken out of it in order for, yeah, you know, for money to be made out of it.
You became involved with the Stones at the time of the Hyde Park concert, but prior to their performance, there'd been a number of really big concerts in Hyde Park that you were involved in.
Yeah, well,
in fact, that helped you design the stage and make sure that everything was okay for their performance there, which happened not long after Brian Jones had died.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things about music, see, that happened with the kind of evolution of the music business was that quite a few politically radical people were involved in the music business. I mean, Bob Dylan, of course, you know, if you look at the history of Bob Dylan and his involvement with the music business, Bob Dylan came from a kind of tradition of Woody Guthrie and left-wing, union-based political consciousness and the folk music trip, you know, that was kind of left-wing. And in England, the left was involved very seriously in folk music and in the kind of nascent music business. And one of the things that left-wing people felt like was, well, why should people have to pay for music? Folk music, you don't pay for folk music, do you? Folk music is people, you know, picking up an accordion, a guitar, whatever, people playing for fun and joy and to share experiences. So there was a large element in the nascent music industry that felt that music should be free, and that in some way it was an affront to charge for music. You know, that what we should be doing is playing together, a bit like, you know, like that sex should be free. You shouldn't actually be paying for it, but we can all do it, you know what I mean? What the fuck, you're gonna pay for this? It's crazy, you know? And it's like, so there was an element that thought that music should be free. So at that time, what we did was we put a lot of music on for free. Musicians played for free, and everybody did it as a kind of cooperative endeavour to have fun together. So as part of that, a company that was founded by basically some freaks, you know, they formed a company because no one would speak to you from the kind of government and all that unless there was like a formal structure like a company called Black Hill Enterprises, managed to persuade the people that controlled all the parks in London that it would be a good idea to put on a free concert in the park, which was very, very radical idea for at that time. This was 1968. So the first concert was actually the Pink Floyd. And Syd Barrett, bless him, had gone basically gaga from taking too many drugs and all that. And Dave Gilmour replaced Syd Barrett as the lead guitar player in Pink Floyd. And the first concert that Dave Gilmour played with Pink Floyd was in Hyde Park. About, I don't know, 30,000 people came, and it was very kind of ethereal, and everybody took acid, and it was all very lovely, and nobody quite understood what was going on in terms of straight London society. But anyway, no one was injured, and you know, there wasn't a mess left in the park. So they then gave permission for another concert to happen, and it happened that Eric Clapton had been playing with Cream at that time and was fed up with Cream, sick to death of Ginger Baker and sick to death of Jack Bruce. Basically, they had massive fights and wanted to start a whole new scene, a new development, and he started Blind Faith. So we did a free concert again with Blind Faith in the park, and that was a great success. 150,000 people came to that, and nobody got hurt. No, you know, the park wasn't damaged or anything. The music was okay, it wasn't that great, but everyone had a fabulous time. And Mick was at that, Jagger was at that with Marianne Faithfull and Paul McCartney and all kinds of pretty, you know, people. That kind of the London demi-monde was in attendance, and Mick loved it. And the Stones at that time hadn't played live for a couple of years, basically because Brian Jones was fucked, to be unkind about it. He just, you know, was catatonic, and Brian was one of those guys who just didn't know how to take drugs, basically, you know, was was fucked, anyway, to put it, you know. So
Sam's not giving lessons on that afterwards, by the way.
Yeah. So the Stones hadn't played, you know, for a long time, and they felt like, you know, they wanted to play, and Mick saw this and knew that, you know, the Rolling Stones were in danger of basically losing their fans and their audience, you know. I mean, all bands have to play at some juncture. So he was very impressed by this show, and they then fired Brian, in essence, is what happened. I wasn't privy to that, but they went and fired Brian, and they picked Mick Taylor to be Brian's replacement, and they decided that they would love to do a concert in Hyde Park, you know, to introduce Mick Taylor to their audience. So after almost 3 years of not playing, that was the plan. And then lo and behold, about a week, I can't remember the exact day, but anyway, it was a matter of days before that concert, Brian died in highly suspicious circumstances. And then there was a, you know, giant crisis behind all that. And they decided that they would go ahead with this concert anyway and introduce Mick Taylor to it, and we did, and there was 500,000 people at it, much to everyone's surprise, and it was a great success. And as a result of that, the Stones asked me to work for them. This is all, I'm making this very kind of shorthand and quick, but that's what happened.